Okay, so let's talk about a bit about setups here. For fishing on a student budget, mostly what we've been looking through this year was from feeder angling, a bit of feeder angling to bank angling, and now we've talked a bit about carp angling and done a few sessions throughout the year, but we haven't talked about the kit that we've been using. So we're talking about more of a budget setup when it comes to your pods, your alarms, and a bit more advanced setup when it comes to rods and reels. Now, the concept of a student budget was always to be about budget friendly towards a student or someone who's still at school, or maybe people who just want to go fishing for the fun of it and don't want to spend a crap ton on equipment that they're using. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the pod. So this is a very old Fox Horizon pod. I've had this pod for about exactly 12 years now, and it's never let me down. And then the alarms, we're using the Jackal alarms here. And what's nice about the alarms especially is that they have a receiver that comes with them, and they are quite sensitive as we are fishing here, which is very nice in this instance where we're fishing where bites come few and often and you do not want to miss a bite. So for alarms, here's a nice budget setup of alarms. Range for alarms these days would go about between, for let's say a set of 3 or 2 alarms or to 4 alarms would be about from $800 till about $1,200, $1,300. But that's your more entry-level alarms, and they will get you through. You do not need a receiver. If you have one, it's a bonus when you're living in your bivvy or your tent or camping and behind. And then pods. So like I said, this pod I've had about for 12 years now, and it's never let me down. That means that any pod that you can buy will stand the test of times. And I'm talking about from Sensation to something like a Fox pod, or even something like a Jackal, Daiwa, any of those other brands. These pods have stood the test of time, and we know they work, and you can get them for a very good price at any tackle retailer out there. So another thing about Specimen, people see a lot of bobbins or swingers or hangers being used. I would recommend that compared to using a policeman. The reason being, since your policeman is hanging to the front of your rods, the indication when getting a drop back, you would not get that drop back. So we have taken a couple of pictures to show here with my girlfriend Jessica's setup that I forgot her bobbins. So we've MacGyvered away here using a pebble and a piece of grass to act as bobbins. And this is important for us because if we get a drop back bite, you will see that the bobbin or the rock will move down, indicating the fish is biting back towards us, towards the bank. And it even acts to help us see the bite going away. So bobbins would be a preferred setup here. Unfortunately, we do not have them here with this setup at the moment. Now going to from the more budget alarm kit and pod, we're going to the rods and reels. So at the moment we're using the Daiwa Power Mesh 12 foot 3.5 pound test curve rods and the Daiwa Big Pit reels with 20 pound J braid on the reels. And I was actually astonished when I saw the price ranges of these rods and reel combo. This would be a more advanced setup when you're fishing. I wouldn't say it would fall just into a student budget for me personally. And as we know, Daiwa is a top quality brand right around the world, from deep sea fishing, shore angling, specimen angling, and even bank angling. And even in the feeder world, it's a great setup to use. These rods pair perfectly since we are using a boat in the session. They are great handling on the boat, and especially for reels, since we're fishing out a distance, we have a line capacity to be able to get out of the greater distances where we are fishing, and that just makes the setup a lot easier when playing a fish, handling fish, when you are fighting them, when you get the bite. So this would be one of my recommendations for a setup if you're getting into carp angling. So here's our first setup, basically a bit MacGyvered in some ways, but also using more advanced proper tackle that will last you for years and years to come. And I mean, here's some examples that have lasted the test of time for me. Cheers.